We celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary with a short trip to Cappadocia in central Turkey. We stayed for 4 nights in a small B&B in the town of Goreme. This was our room with its private terrace. Nothing much to look at, but with a great view. Goreme town centre is very low-key, dominated by a mosque with a few shops, restaurants and a small market. But once you wander a short distance up the sides of the valley, you quickly see the wonderful rock formations and cave dwellings for which the Cappadocia region is known. In the early mornings, hot air balloon trips are very popular, and when the wind was in the right direction, they drifted across the town, right in front of our room. We took organised tours in a minibus on our first 2 days. The first was around the southern part of Cappadocia, starting at a viewpoint just a mile or so south of Goreme. Although tourism is very important, most people are still farmers, each with their own small plot of land. Our next stop was to visit one of the underground cities in the area. This one is spread over 11 levels and could have accommodated 20,000 people. The city was first built in the 8th century BC and used over the centuries as a way of hiding from invaders. Next, we had a lovely walk along part of the Ilhara Gorge. The rock in the area is volcanic and very easy to tunnel and carve out. The inhabitants of the area used to keep large numbers of pigeons. The eggs were used as a base to paint frescoes in the many churches built into the rocks. After lunch, we clambered up to the Selime monastery, which was carved by monks in the 13th century. It includes quite a large church, but sadly the coloured frescoes have all but disappeared. Our final stop on our first day's tour was another scenic viewpoint just south of Goreme. On our second day, we toured the northern part of Cappadocia, starting with the rock fortress at Turkiye. Next, we moved on to the Goreme Open-Air Museum. It covers a large area with dozens of rock-cut churches. Most date back to the 10th, 11th and 12th centuries, and some have very well preserved frescoes. This museum was the only place we went to in Cappadocia that seemed at all busy. I suspect it's the only place in the region that coach tours of Turkey visit. The rocks are formed differently in different areas. These, a couple of miles north of Goreme, look like boulders perched precariously on top of columns. Whereas in this area, they are like giant mushrooms, On this tour, we also went to a pottery workshop. And for a wine tasting. The tasting was terrible, but the local wine we had with our meals was generally very pleasant. On our third and final day, we went for a walk on our own. The owner of the B&B we were staying in dropped us off at the start point, and we set off exploring some of the valleys between Goreme and Chawashin to the north. All the small holes you can see in the rocks are for pigeons. Many of the larger openings look inaccessible, but the access is generally via tunnels and steps built within the rocks. The scenery really is magnificent, and we had most of it to ourselves. On a pass between two valleys, we came across this cafe and a rock church. The owner of the cafe wasn't there. You just took what you wanted and left some money. This is the village of Chawashin, where we ended our wonderful scenic walk. It was a very short break, but we thoroughly enjoyed it, and thought the scenery in Cappadocia was amongst the best we have seen anywhere in the world.